Hello and welcome back to the MMA Bar. Today we're going to discuss the trending situation of Nate Diaz's rift with the UFC, why he wants out of his contract, why it's taken so long, and who is the opponent for his last fight. Months after months of demanding a fight has finally pushed the hands of Dana White and the UFC matchmakers to finally offer him one. However, the opponent he has matched up against isn't so cozy and in all likelihood wouldn't be a gentle send-off for the UFC star. It has recently been announced that Nate Diaz is set to fight the dangerous and hungry Khamzat Chimaev as he headlines UFC 279. Over the last few months, Nate Diaz has converted the headlines as a result of his constantly asking for an opponent to face his last UFC fight. The younger of the Diaz brothers has been amongst the biggest stars of the organization for a long time, but now with one fight left on his contract, the UFC star is looking for a way out. And although Diaz doesn't have his UFC release, he finally has a fight. The Stockton native fighter will face off against Khamzat Chimaev at September 10th in Las Vegas. After months of being vocal about wanting part ways from UFC, Diaz finally got his final fight with the organization set. Since the welterweight star lost to Leon Edwards back at UFC 263 in June 2021, he has been trying to set his final fight with UFC but was constantly met with roadblocks. Diaz has trash-talked various fighters over the past months in hopes to get a match brewing. Along with his upcoming opponent Chimaev, he has asked for fights with Tony Ferguson, Dustin Poirier, Vincent Luke, and other fighters. The iconic MMA fighter defeated Conor McGregor after a lengthy career at the top of the lightweight and welterweight divisions in 2016, catapulting him to global superstardom. But he was unable to build on that momentum after losing their hastily arranged rematch, as he fought just 3 times since his second bout with the Irishman. Diaz has publicly stated his interest in fighting YouTube star Jake Paul in the boxing ring, but signed a rigid contract with the UFC, which he is begging to leave. It is no news of fighters complaining how rigid the UFC contract is. The contract prevents you from competing in other MMA promotions, boxing promotions, or high-level competitions, with exceptions to grappling matches and others that won't exactly bring in money for the fighters. With the UFC labeling their fighters as individual contractors, the fighters are not exactly happy how rigid the contracts are. Earlier this year, we saw UFC heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou refuse to sign a new contract because it prevented him from a super fight with heavyweight boxing champion Tyson Fury. Now, with Nate's contract remaining 1 fight, he claims the UFC is trying to stronghand him from mega fight with celebrity boxer Jake Paul. Diaz wrote on Twitter alongside a video of Paul's KO of Tyron Woodley during their bout last December, "UFC, release now, please, or give me fight with anyone in July or August. I have bigger to do." Speaking on the fight, Jake Paul has declared interest in fighting Nate Diaz, and it is a fight that he wants. Jake said, "I believe Nate Diaz will actually fight me and isn't afraid like most of these professional boxers. I think that fight could happen eventually. When he gets out of the UFC contract, I would love to box him. Nate wants that to happen, but obviously Dana White is in control of all these guys and won't let them out of his contract." Although Diaz's contract is set to expire in November, it appears he can't wait that long. Diaz has argued that he is being held hostage by the promotion and insists that there is no amount of money that could get him to stay in the UFC. In an interview with Ariel Helwani, he said, "My last fight was in June of 2021. I've been working on it. I was trying, a month or 2 went by, and I was ready to go. I asked for several fights, but I got held up. I'm getting held up. I've been held up since the last fight. I wanted to get a fight going, but they don't want to let me out of the contract, so it's freaking going on, but I'm ready to rock." His most recent outing, just his 3rd in the last 6 years, was a losing effort to Leon Edwards last summer. The Brit has since moved on to a world title opportunity, just as his previous opponents George Masvidal and McGregor did. But Diaz has no interest in fighting for a UFC belt and is begging to be released so that he can compete in other disciplines. He claims that the current UFC roster provides no interest to him, and he has insisted that he won't sign even a record-breaking new deal with the promotion. He said, "When I'm asking for a fight, they offer me more money. Then they offer me more money, more money. I'm at a point in my career and my life where I don't want any more money, I just want to depart. I'm over the whole UFC roster as of right now. With Diaz being one of the highest earning stars in the UFC and no doubt a top 3 star in the sport, the UFC is not so eager on letting him go. Since his 2 record-breaking fights with Conor McGregor in 2016, Diaz has only fought 3 times. He took a 3-year hiatus between August 2016 and August 2019, and also took a 19-month hiatus between 2019 and 2021. Also, it's been more than a year since his last fight. Diaz, however, has a conspiracy that all the while he wasn't active, the UFC wanted it to be so. Diaz explained, "I wasn't pushing the issue, I figured it would just start happening. I don't know why I figured that, but I thought that they would just keep the ball rolling. I was already out for a while, and I realized lately that all the time that I was off, they wanted me off. They wanted me to linger in a contract rather than let me out on my own doing some stuff. If I wasn't fighting, they were fine with it, because I'm still in contract and I wouldn't be out doing something else, so that's where they wanted me." Diaz, 37, is fed up with the UFC. He said the promotion has offered him more money to sign a new deal, but he made it clear that he believes he'd make more money fighting outside of the UFC. It's been a long journey for Diaz and the UFC, as he made his own promotional debut way back in June 2007, and prior to that, he fought for Zuffa-owned WEC. But it's clear from his message that the relationship has soured to the point he simply wants out. However, Nate Diaz has expressed that he won't like to take the UFC to court over this matter. After a couple of months of no response, Diaz finally got a reply from Dana White. White explained that the UFC can't prevent Diaz from competing because the organization is required to offer him so many fights per year, or otherwise be forced to compensate him for sitting on the sidelines. White said, "When isn't Nate Diaz saying something crazy? I've said this a million times and I'll say it again, we can't hold guys hostage, it's not possible. I owe you 3 fights a year. If you don't fight 3 times a year, I have to pay you. How could I hold him hostage?" Denying the truth to Dana's words, Diaz said on Twitter, "In the last 9 months, I've been offered 0 fights, and I asked for 5 legitimate opponents. Thanks you for the kind words. Can I go now?" Diaz stated that the UFC wanted to book him in a trilogy against Conor McGregor, but he doesn't want to wait for that fight to happen with the Irish superstar, not expecting return until late 2022 or early 2023 after suffering a broken leg in his last outing. Diaz was finally offered a fight with the fast-rising grappler Khamzat Chimaev, who recently defeated Gilbert Burns to shoot up the welterweight rankings, and after initially turning down the bout in which Chimaev would have been a massive favorite, Diaz decided to accept. He said, "Then they finally offered me the Khamzat fight, and I gave a little, what the heck? But finally I was like, why not? Let's just get it done and over with, so I asked for that fight. I'm trying to get this show on the road, but they're keeping me on my contract and they're holding me hostage. I want out. That's my main objective." With the UFC booking Diaz against a dangerous fighter like Khamzat Chimaev, many fans are of the feeling that the UFC did it to diminish Diaz's stock entirely to prevent him from making huge money outside of the UFC. No surprise, Chimaev opened as a negative 1,100 favorite. Thank you for watching this video. That's all for now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell.